Welcome to the ArmaniTalks show, episode 18. I am your host, ArmaniTalks, and in this show, I'm covering a variety of different topics that are dealing with soft skills such as public speaking, storytelling, emotional resilience, creativity, and much more. If these topics interest you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me right on below. If you're listening from podcast, you can just sit back and listen. If you're listening from Twitter, which a couple of people do, be sure to retweet this after you're done listening to it. And if you can't tell, I moved to a brand new location and I'm still in the process of setting up. As I'm in the process of setting up, I've learned a lot of things about moving that I want to share, especially because the experience is somewhat fresh in my mind. For the past 5 years, I've been renting from an apartment, and I would say this was somewhat of a good deal for me, especially in the time frame that I was in my life. Roughly around 2019, I found this location in downtown Tampa, which was around everything. I wasn't necessarily looking for how nice the apartment was. I just wanted it to be around everything because by 2019, I was focusing more on the ArmaniTalks business. One of my buddies, he told me about this organization called BNI, which was a business networking organization. And I noticed that there was a BNI right next to the part of Tampa that I was thinking about moving into. So by the time that I signed my lease, I didn't care that this place was under 1,000 square foot. It was just one bedroom, one bathroom. I didn't care about any of that. All I cared about was the fact that I was getting this deal, as you can say, in downtown Tampa. I was living in the heart of the city. If I wanted to walk to Soho, for example, I literally could. And whenever people would visit me, they would say, all right, Armani, this is not the best place to live, but it's still in downtown Tampa. I'm assuming that you're spending $2,100 to $2,500 in rent, right? No. In the beginning, I was spending roughly $900 per month, which was a deal. I mean, in downtown Tampa, it should be double that. However, my landlord, they were private. They weren't one of these big apartment complexes with pools, gyms, and everything like that. It's just a bunch of regular people that pooled money together, invested in some property here, and rented it out. So that was the pro of working with people like this. The pro was you're going to get a deal that you are not expecting because these guys, they're not providing that much stuff within the neighborhood. And a guy like me, I don't care. I mean, I'm going to do Crunch Gym anyways. So why does it matter if there's a gym in my apartment complex? I felt good getting that deal, and I felt good saving so much money on rent. It was like that for a couple of months until I noticed the dark sides of working with landlords. The dark side of working with a landlord is that they could make up rules out of the blue moon. There was this one time when my landlord said, hey, be sure to have your rent delivered to me latest by the 3rd of every month. And she kept emphasizing that. And since she kept emphasizing that, I said, okay, let me just take the guesswork completely out of it. Let me just set up a Chase payment account with them so they get their money by the 1st. I know for a fact that they get their money by the 1st all the time. Yet, there was this one month, this lady hits me up and says, I didn't get your rent money for this month. What? I mean, it's automated. What do you mean you didn't get the rent money for the month? So I check my Chase statements and I see that it was sent on the 1st of the month. Lady, what are you talking about? I read back. And she says, oh, yeah, never mind. I guess I must have missed it. I see your check. Okay, we're good now? She says we're good. A couple of months goes on by, and she pulls the same thing again, where she says, hey, I didn't get your rent, and this is the second time this year. Lady, what are you talking about? The first time we established that it was a mistake on your end, and right now, I doubt there's a mistake at all. As I told you before, I automated this, so you should be getting it by the 1st of the month. Check again. And she checks again. And she says that she made a mistake. At this stage, I'm getting annoyed because I have other stuff to worry about. I don't have the time to talk to you, lady. You are simply someone who I pay rent to every month so I could have a place to stay. That is all. I'm not trying to be buddy-buddy with you. Don't try to hassle more money out of me. And I was starting to get annoyed at this lady. And this situation happened a couple of times during our my stay in this apartment complex. And every now and then when I would talk to other people, they said something similar. They'll say, yeah, did Patricia ever try to pull something like that on you? Yes, she did. She did it on you too. And I talked to Patricia on the phone before where she didn't seem like this malicious lady. She just seemed like a forgetful lady. I was thinking that all this stuff, it wasn't going to be a hassle for the big picture. It's just, people make mistakes. I went on like this for the next couple of years. I moved into the apartment in 2019. For the next couple of years, I'm over here just dealing with random issues. But for the most part, I'm happy that I am getting rent for so cheap in downtown Tampa until they keep raising the rents. It started off as $9.90, but by the time I'm leaving, it's $15.20. So rent has increased. And around this stage, I thought, okay, let's focus more on buying the own property. So rather than just giving my rent to a landlord, I could build equity in a property. Last week, I was on the process of moving out. And as I'm in the process of moving out, I say, okay, I will break my lease. She says you have to pay 2 months of rent to break the lease. She also says, oh, and you have $1,200 in late fees. Late fees for what, lady? And then she starts to spin this narrative again, where she says that I pay my rent late all the time. And I say, look, if you want to actually argue about this, I have receipts. Because the thing is, I've automated this to Chase. So I get a notification every single time that it has successfully been paid. Do you have any proof that I'm late? She didn't, but she was starting to threaten me right now. She says, well, no, you have to pay this. Otherwise, we're going to make this a big hassle. We're going to file fees and we're going to take you to court in order for you to pay this. And she's getting really bold the way that she's writing on her email. And it's taking everything in me not to just bash her, call her every name in the book and say, lady, for the past couple of years, I've been nothing but gentle to you. I've never missed a rent payment. I always give it to you on time. And now you're trying to pull this with me, especially when I'm trying to move out. This isn't right. So rather than email her, I called her. As soon as I called her, that bass in her voice left. She was no longer talking like this tough lady anymore. She became somewhat timid. And I asked her, Patricia, what's going on? What are you talking about? I owe you late fees and everything like that. Didn't we already establish tons of times that this was an error on your end? You apologized for it. I have emails saying that you apologized for it. And now you're trying to put another $1,200 on the 2-month rental lease breaking thing that I'm going to give you. You're trying to make me pay $4,000 to leave. What are you doing, Patricia? And the fact that I called her, I believe, changed the dynamic of everything. Because if I kept emailing her, that would have been a situation where she would have felt more bold for whatever reason. I don't know where she got that courage from that day, but she would have felt more courageous that day. On the phone call, though, everything left. And then she said, okay, how about this? We'll waive the late fees, and then you just have to pay this month's rent, which was June at the time, and July's rent, and you're good to go. This is where you want to beware, because just because she's saying it on the phone does not mean that much. You want to also get it in writing. So I asked her, okay, here's what you got to do. You got to email me everything that I just talked about. You got to say that, okay, well, Armani, you pay 2 months of rent and then you could break the lease successfully. You're not going to cause a hassle once I move out. And I'll move out by the 30th. She said, that works. And from there, I ended up moving out within the 30th. It's been a hassle. The thing that I learned though, especially since going from an apartment to a house, is that when you are moving in the public, they make it seem as though it's going to take you a long time. You're moving, start getting ready. It may take you the entire month. I kid you not. I said I was going to move out by the 30th, and I ended up moving out by the 23rd. I had the call with Patricia by the 19th or so. These are rough metrics. The main thing to understand is that I moved out within 1 to 3 days. And here's some lessons about moving out. The first thing that you should do is you should hire a moving company. Don't be one of these people that say, I'm going to get my friends to help me move and I'll buy them pizza after. Not worth it at all. If you're going to move, hire a moving company and they're going to cost you roughly $520 because they charge $120 per hour. And if that's the case, they'll take care of it. You don't have to do anything. They will take care of it. And here's a pro tip. You want one of these moving companies that are also junk removal services, because there's going to be a lot of things that you're not going to take from your apartment to your house. And if they provide the junk removal service, then you don't have to hire someone later on. The thing to understand with junk removal service is that you want to call them and ask them, how are you going to get rid of the trash? Are you just going to dump it in my apartment garbage can? Or are you going to throw it away in a landfill somewhere? Because what happened with me was I had a bunch of couches, lamps, bed frames that I didn't need. And these movers just dumped it in my neighborhood garbage. And then Patricia calls me again and says, hey, you're not allowed to leave garbage outside of the garbage can. You need to get rid of it somehow. By then, the movers left. So how am I going to get rid of it? Now I had to call a different junk removal service. And for just a few items, they said that they need $180 to remove it. Because the way that they calculate it is, well, we're going to need to fill up 2 trucks for this. You can negotiate a little bit, but it's not worth it. I mean, it just stings where you have to pay $180 right after you paid $520 to move. And by then, you're moved. Once you move to the new place with home ownership, the thing you need to understand is you are forced into becoming handy, where a lot of the things you may not know, but since this is your place, you got to learn. You can't just say, every single problem, I'm going to hit up the handyman. At this stage, you got to learn. And there's always going to be little hassles that you weren't expecting, where for my place, there wasn't initially a fridge or blinds. I'm thinking the fridge is going to be expensive, but the blinds are going to be cheap. I'm thinking that this is a $400 project. Not at all. To get blinds for roughly 9 windows, that's $650. And these handyman, they charge a labor of $500. So that is a $1,000 project just there. And there's going to be little things that come up. And if you don't know anything, that's going to be an issue. There was this one day when I saw that I had a garage, but what about the remote? I mean, does the remote work? The remote works, but you got to program it. So now you need to link your remote with the garage door. You got to program it in a way where when you want it to go up, it'll go up. When you want it to go down, it'll go down. And I thought, I don't want to do this right now. I really don't. I'm trying to read the little instruction booklet. It's gibberish. So I start to go on Google. Too much text. I don't want to read this. And you know where I found the solution? TikTok. My perception of TikTok has drastically changed ever since I got this house. Because any fix that you want to get, there's something like that on TikTok. And they'll say it in a way where it's fresh for them. That's one of the main reasons I'm going on and on about moving, because it's so fresh for me. And it may not resonate with a lot of people, but for that one person, it may. So I'm going on TikTok and I write down the brand name of the garage door opener. I put it in TikTok. And there's a bunch of people wasting my time just talking about garage doors and everything. And then I see a video of this one happy homeowner that's so enthusiastic. She says, I did my first ever DIY project, do-it-yourself project, for my house. I set up my remote controller with my garage door. I thought, yeah, lady? Oh, whoa, you have the same brand that I do. Go ahead, talk about how you did it. And then after the enthusiasm fades, she says, well, here's how I did it. And she explains exactly how she did it. It was a 4-step process, or if you read one of those instruction booklets, you'll think it's a 4-day process. So I saw what she did. I applied it. I clicked the button and the garage door went up. I clicked the button again. The garage door went down. It worked. That was the first time when I saw that TikTok has fixes, especially for homeowners. Another time, I'm trying to install my dryer, and after the guy from Lowe's comes in, installs the washer, for the dryer, he's speaking thick Spanish. Hola, hola. I can't understand a word he's saying, and I'm trying my best to pull out my translator. He's not trying to participate with the translator. He just is tapping on my wall and says the vent, closed. And that's all he's saying. And he's saying he can't do anything else. I mean, this guy speaks so much Spanish where when I called Lowe's, the notes that he left was written in Spanish. So the Lowe's customer support said, okay, wait a minute, sir. We got to translate this real quick. I thought, okay, well, if you guys need to translate it, imagine how I felt. This is a $700 dryer and it's not working. I don't know why. So once again, I go back to TikTok and I see what the issue could be because I don't even know who to hit up for that. I mean, is there a person that specifically specializes in dryers? Do I hit up an electrician, a handyman, a dryer man, Lowe's? Who do I hit up? And what I find from TikTok is you hit up people that work on the AC, or you go on Thumbtack and find a person who specifically deals with cleaning vents. That's what I did. And just like that, the guy came yesterday and fixed it. The main thing to understand is that the lifestyle of having an apartment versus a house is radically different. Where with an apartment, most of the stuff is done for you. Where if your laundry or something isn't working, you could just hit up your landlord. They most likely have a handyman on deck, and they're going to fix it. If your AC is not working, they're going to fix it. Where when you have a property, no one's going to fix it until you take the initiative. You have to be the one that gets on Thumbtack, contacts a couple of people, get a fair price, have them come to your place, and then work out a deal. I also learned how much trust plays an issue in all of this because these are strangers that are coming to your place. Sure, some of them have great reviews, but these are strangers that are in business for themselves. So whenever you're inviting them, they're just coming willy-nilly into your house. Imagine if I was some sort of serial killer and that's how I lured them in. It is one of the most frictionless processes out there. I'll just say, you know what, today I want to commit a big crime. Let me go on Thumbtack. Let me say that I need my vent fixed. That guy comes into my house without me coaxing him or anything. And I just commit a crime on him. I could easily do that, especially if I prepare for it. And especially because this guy is giving me so much trust. This is what happens when you break someone's trust. They are completely viewing you in the positive light. And the idea of you doing something to them, it's not even a thought that crosses their mind. And this is what happens with people with trust issues, where they believed that there was a person that would do nothing wrong to them, and that person did something wrong to them. And in the future, they keep seeing things going wrong rather than nothing happening. So imagine that this handyman came to my place and I beat him up. I beat him up with a couple of people. That is going to forever change his perspective of how he conducts himself and his business. In the future, the questions he asks his potential clients will be different. Hey, do you have a camera system in your place? Hey, can I bring a few other people with me? Are there going to be other people with you? Because I don't want strangers that I'm not interacting with right now being in the house, especially once I'm completing the project. This person is going to be completely different. This is why whenever someone has trust issues, I recommend that you decide if you want to be a part of this ride or not. If you want to be a part of this ride, you got to understand that you are never fully proven. Or sometimes someone will ask you, well, do you trust me? And let's say you're the one with trust issues. You could lie and say, yes, I trust you 100%, but you know that's a lie. And they think, okay, well, you keep telling me you trust me, but whenever I want to do X, Y, and Z, the way that you question me, I feel like you don't trust me. The reason is because when you have trust issues, uh, it's not easy to trust. It's an ongoing process for when you are going to open up again and you're going to let another person into your life. So this is one thing that I've seen plenty of times. And if you are a honest person, I would say when you're interacting with someone with trust issues, it just makes you more aware of your own behavior. One analogy that I can give you is when you have a house versus an apartment, any small thing you'll notice more. When your microwave doesn't work, you'll think, okay, well, I need to eventually work on getting this fixed. It's probably going to cost $150 for the handyman to just come. Let me research more models of microwaves and let me research. Where when you're in an apartment, you'll just go to Walmart and buy another microwave or call your handyman. You're just more aware when you are having a house. And similarly, when you're dealing with someone that has trust issues, you're just more aware of your behavior. Where before you would think, okay, well, I'm just texting these people back. I'm just like, let's say one of your friends on Instagram posts a story, you just click the fire emoji or you just click the heart-eyed emoji. When you're a single person, you don't really think much of it. It could be a guy that you're clicking the fire emoji to because this is a friend. It could be a girl you click the fire emoji to. But when you're dealing with someone with trust issues, what's going to happen is in the future, they may ask to see your phone. And if they see that you're over here pressing fire emojis to all of a girl's stories, they're going to think, what's up with that? Don't you understand the message that you're giving this girl? She thinks you're flirting with her and you've been with me this whole time. What gives? So when you're dealing with someone with trust issues, you become more aware of these micro moves that you were initially not aware of. And this is where a lot of miscommunications can happen. I mean, as of late, there's this viral trend that's going around with Chris Brown taking pictures with his fans. And he's taking these pictures in a very seductive sort of way, according to one group of people. So one group of people will say, wow, man, that is so seductive. I wouldn't want to be this girl's boyfriend. And another group says, nothing about this is seductive. So there's this picture of a girl that's somewhat backing into Chris Brown. And from her perspective, she thought it was a very respectable picture. But her boyfriend thought it was a disrespectful picture. He broke up with her. And she couldn't believe it because from her perspective, it was a respectful picture. And now this is where the communication aspect comes in. Why does one person view it as respectful and another person view it as disrespectful? Because the person that's taking the picture, I mean, they're not fully aware at that moment. It's very similar to that person that's just hearting these different stories without understanding how it could be perceived by someone else. Now, the boyfriend, I wouldn't say this guy has trust issues, where in today's generation, people will try to frame that as, oh man, this guy's that insecure about a celebrity. Come on, it's just a celebrity. But with guys, especially when something goes viral, it's not just a situation with the girl and the guy anymore. Now, other people are getting involved. If this picture with Chris Brown goes viral, let's say it is a harmless picture, but it's going viral for people sparking debate on whether it's really harmless or not. What's going to happen is the guy whose girl is going viral for that Chris Brown picture, the guy is going to be flooded with messages from people he knows. His mom is going to message him. His uncle is going to message him. Cousins are going to message him. And they're all going to say, oh my God, did you see the picture with your girl and Chris Brown? Oh my God, I feel so sorry for you. And the guy who initially thought the picture may have been harmless will say, what do you mean you feel sorry for me? Why do you feel sorry for me? Cousins say, what do you mean, why do we feel sorry for you? Dude, your girl is literally getting fondled by Chris Brown on social media everyone's thinking the same thing. Wait, you're not thinking about taking her back, are you? Now the guy who wasn't going to break up with this girl, I mean, he may have had a conversation with her or something. Suddenly the guy is thinking, wait a minute, it's bad. I mean, my friends are judging me for this. And now he calls this girl with more bass in his voice and he says, hey, we got to talk. I didn't like how you posed with Chris Brown. And that's when everything begins happening. So when something goes viral, it's no longer just about you two anymore. It's something that everyone's going to have an opinion on. And that's when you have to really get clear. In this generation, it's more important than ever to get clear because one person's idea of okay is another person's idea of wrong. And that's what I believe the talking stage is for. I always find it weird when two people are talking, they're on the phone for a long time, and they don't even know the basics about where do they want to live? Do they want to have kids? Do they believe in having a gun in the house or not? I mean, these are important topics that come up, especially when you're trying to take someone seriously. And a lot of the people, what they do is they have these very bland conversations that go nowhere. If you're going to be having a conversation and you see this person being in your life long term, then what you got to do is you got to ask important questions. You can't just be one of these people that is keeping surface level too much, talking about TV shows, etc. If you're curious about how to have deep conversations, I actually have a detailed video on my YouTube about it. Just type in long talks, ArmaniTalks, and you'll see how to have a deep, meaningful talk. Here are some tips I can give you. One tip is don't rush a deep talk. It's often going to happen organically, especially if it's in a conversation setting. Now, if you're one of these Joe Rogan guys where you have a show that is meant to have a deep talk, then you could rush the process. But if it's just a social interaction, you want to work up with the basics, just about, hey, what do you do for a living? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite show? Just the basics. Keep warming up, building consistency, and organically a long talk will fall out. The second thing that you want to do is you want to aim for the nighttime, because in the daytime, people are more formal. But if you get in the habit of having conversations at night, that's when people feel more informal and they'll want to open up to you. So that's another strategy to have a long talk. Do it later on in the night when someone's getting a little bit tired, not too tired, but a little bit tired, to open up more. And the third thing that you want to do is you want to ask deep questions. The idea of deep questions is very subjective. For example, let's say there's an OnlyFans girl. The OnlyFans girl will love to talk about OnlyFans with another OnlyFans creator. For that scenario, it's not perceived as a deep question. But if the OnlyFans is the girl, if her dad asks about her OnlyFans career, then she'll feel as though it's too deep to discuss with her dad. Why? Because she doesn't want to discuss X-rated stuff with her father. The main point is that deep questions are very subjective in nature. So the way to spot deep questions is, in the back of your mind, you're always going to think, should I really ask that? The father who's asking the daughter about the OnlyFans career, I guarantee you in the back of his thought, he's thinking, should I really ask that? So in context to that scenario, the father is asking the daughter a deep question. So whenever you're having these long talks with someone, every now and then you want to have one of these moments where you're thinking, should I really ask that? And when you think something like that, it's not always going to go well. Every now and then you're going to ask something that pisses the other person off. They're going to say, why would you ask me something like that? And you never know which question is going to trigger them. There was this one day when I got set up with this one girl where I had to talk to her mom before I could talk to her. It was weird. I matched with her, but her mom was the one leading the dating, the profile. And by the way, there was this one dating app where you could blur out your photos. So this was a good safety filter to make sure that the people that were matching weren't just being shallow and looking at someone's face. They were really trying to match for the personality. being the guy that I wasn't over here reading anyone's bio. I would just right swipe on anyone. And if I really liked them, I'd double down on the conversation. If I didn't, I'd unmatch them later. I matched with this one girl whose face is blurred out. The thing that caught me was that I noticed that she was right by me. She lived in Fort Lauderdale. I lived in Tampa. And thus far, I had been matching with girls in Canada, Dubai, California. So I thought, whoa, this girl is relatively close. So I started messaging her. Her mom is the one who messages me back and says she wants to get on a phone call with me. We talk, and she ends up liking me a lot and says, I believe you will be perfect for my daughter. So she gives me the daughter's contact information. The next day, I call the daughter, and we're over here interacting. I didn't really love that conversation because I felt as though the girl was a little too serious, but I decided to give her grace because this was our first time talking. I mean, obviously, you're not going to have breathtaking conversation in your first ever interaction. So after that first call, I asked, hey, can I see what you look like? And that's when I thought she was being a little shady. She kept saying she was going to send me pictures of her, but would delay it. And at that point, I kept asking, hey, do you mind if I see you? I want to make sure there's some physical chemistry, etc. But I wanted to frame it in a way where I didn't come off as a shallow person. She eventually sent me a picture. And once she sent me a picture, I thought she was okay looking. She wasn't bad, but she wasn't wowing me or anything. I thought she was okay looking. I thought this was a decent place to start off with. We start to have the conversation. And this is the beginning of our interaction. So I'm over here just creating some basic conversation, trying to understand her childhood, her present, and eventually I'm going to ask about her future. Within a couple of questions, though, she tells me, hey, Arman, we gotta actually have some serious conversations. Okay, I mean, what do you exactly mean by that? I mean, what serious conversations are you looking for in interaction number 2? She says, yes, we need to have a lot more serious conversations, especially considering why we're interacting. I thought, okay, I mean, that's fair. I mean, she doesn't want her time wasted. I don't want my time wasted. So the question that comes to my mind, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, should I ask that? Yeah, go ahead. She's giving you the green light to ask a deep question. When do you want to get married? Just a rough estimate. I kid you not. That girl freaks out. Well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean, what do I mean by that? When do you want to get married? It's a very straightforward question. And then she's over here typing. I can see the typing bubbles and everything. Well, that's not for me to decide. That's for the Almighty to decide. I said, okay, well, I know that, but okay, so you don't have a rough estimate? Because on a lot of these dating apps, there's actually these timelines that you could fill out. I mean, the next 2 years, next 5 years, nothing. And she gets so irritated where I thought, whoa, I tried to ask this girl a deep question, and rather than opening up, it failed spectacularly. So what happened was I tried to abruptly change the conversation. I said, oh, okay, well, never mind. Anyway, what's your plans for tonight? She doesn't message me. When she didn't message me like that, I was somewhat irritated because at that stage, I had kept getting these awful matches, or I had these matches that were amazing that would, it'll just fizzle out with. So I was so irritated. I thought, why? Why is it that all these other people could find matches, but for me, something weird is always happening? So she didn't respond back, and I thought, okay, whatever, I'm not going to hit her up again. The next day, though, we were supposed to have a phone call at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. rolls around. I still don't see a text message from her, so I don't call her. By 7, she hits me up on text, and she asks me what happened. I was supposed to call her at 6. And I said, wait, you didn't even respond back to me yesterday. What do you mean? And she says, what do you mean? I did respond back to you. The whole marriage question, right? I said, no, I asked you something else after. And I sent her a screenshot. She responds back that she didn't get the screenshot. So I thought she was ghosting me. But in reality, it was a technical error. And I saw that a lot of the times when you think someone is ghosting you, it's really not a ghost session. Instead, it's a technical error. For whatever reason, your message did not send. And unless one person follows up and asks, hey, Is everything okay? Then you'll never know if it was a technical issue or not. This was the first of 2 times where I thought someone was ghosting me, for me to only realize later on that they weren't ghosting me. Instead, the message just didn't send. And this is where I started to rethink all these past moments when I thought someone ghosted me. And I thought, whoa, what if those people actually didn't ghost me, but they think I ghosted them? It's because I sent them a message, they never got it, they never responded back, and I thought they ghosted me, so I never responded back. I'm not one of these guys that's going to follow up too much if I think you're ghosting me. I'll just move on to the next one. So this is something to take seriously. If you feel as though someone is your soulmate and you think they're ghosting you, every now and then you got to swallow your pride and hit them up and say, hey, is everything okay? I just wanted to make sure that my last message went through. It could have been an actual ghost session. They were like, yeah, it did go through. I just didn't think we had a good match. Boom. Okay, so they were ghosting you. But other times, very rarely, they'll say, whoa, you actually respond back. I thought you were ghosting me. So there was this concept that I created a while back called dual jealousy, where the people that you're jealous of, they're jealous of you. And my remix to that is called dual ghosting. The people that you think are ghosting you, think that you are ghosting them. So that's something to understand. Now, speaking of dual jealousy, there will be plenty of times when you are jealous of someone for them to only be jealous of you. It's the classic scenario of the successful businessman who's jealous of the family man that has a wife and kids, and the family man is jealous of the businessman who has a successful business. This is called dual jealousy. One of the first times that ever happened with me, I saw that you'll never know who is dual jealous of you. They'll seem as though they have the perfect life. Where in undergrad, there was this one guy that would barely have to study. He was coming from Bangladesh to the US. And in Bangladesh, the school programs are super tough. So by the time they come to the US, a lot of them, they're just smart on autopilot. So I would get jealous of this guy, Dasan. I thought, man, here I am studying so hard. I get B's and C's, and this guy barely studies. He gets A's. One night, late at night, we're in the library. We're talking, and I jokingly say, you know what, Dasan? I'm jealous of you. And he says, why are you jealous of me for? Because I'm jealous of you. And I ask him why he's jealous of me. And around that stage, I was throwing a lot of these parties for my fraternity, and he was just studying at home the whole time. Where I thought he was just easily being smart, he wasn't easily smart. He had to earn it. And he was not really that smart normally. He just had no social life, so he could focus all of his efforts into studying. And he would always see me on these Facebook posts, interacting with others, and he thought, I want that, man. I really do. So he was jealous of my popularity. I was jealous of his intellect. So this is something that you just want to keep in mind whenever you're being too jealous of someone. In my book, Speakeasy, How to Be More Articulate, Assertive, and Audacious Around People, which is currently available on Amazon and Audible, I bring up this concept known as the confidence irony. And the confidence irony is when we assume that people are way more confident than they really are. The people that intimidate us, we think that this person has everything figured out and they're just cool and calm. So whenever we act as though they're so confident, we don't carry ourselves in a confident way. If you flip it though, you suddenly become more confident. Whenever you see someone that intimidates you, if you create this presupposition that they're not that confident, suddenly you become more competent, you become more empathetic, and you become more confident. Every now and then, if I see someone and I see, oh man, they're really confident, but I don't think they are, suddenly I just know things that I didn't know before. I'll say, oh yeah, you take the direction like this. Oh, you need good food places. I'll suggest this. I just seem smarter. My voice sounds better too.